Oh yeah, interesting.
Just a quick note to our panelists, we'll be starting in just about 1 minute, 1 minute. Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us for LA County's official release of the draft Los Angeles River Master Plan. My name is Kurjan Lee and I'm a Public Affairs Manager with Los Angeles County. I'm also your facilitator for today's event. This is a big day for us at the county and the many thousands of stakeholders who helped us shape and develop this plan. But before we get started, I want to let our Spanish-speaking audience members know that we made a Spanish language simulcast available for this announcement. Here's our translator, Brunilda, to explain how that works.
Para explicarles a ustedes, primeramente me gustaría decirle que usted puede oprimir un botón donde dice traducción. Cuando usted haga esto, esto le va a ayudar a usted escoger el lenguaje. Una vez que usted escoja el lenguaje, usted no va a hacer nada más hasta que yo termine esta traducción. Por favor, escoja el lenguaje y hágale clic y entonces usted únicamente va a poder escuchar la interpretación. Si en algún momento usted quiere cambiar al inglés de nuevo, entonces usted puede hacerle clic, siga estos mismos pasos y regresa al idioma de inglés. Gracias.
Thank you, Brunilda. So following the remarks from our panelists, we'll open the Zoom app to take questions from the media. Questions will be taken in the order they're received. We simply ask that you use the raise hand function on your Zoom app to be added to the queue. Our team will unmute you at that time and you'll be able to address our panel. As a reminder, please make sure to keep your microphone off unless you're speaking. Now it gives me great pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Chair Hilda L. Solis, Supervisor of the 1st District of Los Angeles County. Supervisor.
Thank you so much and good morning to everyone. I especially want to thank my colleagues, Supervisor Sheila Kuehl, Director Mark Pastrella, Frank Gehry, and Laurie Olin for joining us today to celebrate this wonderful, momentous occasion. This effort, as you may recall, first got kicked off back in 2016 when I introduced a motion to update the LA River Master Plan during my first run as chair of the Board of Supervisors. So today we get to see the product of our motion. The release of the draft LA Master Plan marks a significant milestone for all Angelenos. The master plan, as you know, will lay out the vision for what the LA River can and should offer to all of our communities. As our population has grown over the last century, our communities have lost opportunities for open space. And many of the communities along the LA River, especially those in the 1st District in the lower LA River, are overburdened. They are rent burdened, they're pollution burdened. They're also burdened by a lack of park and open space. And at the same time, we also face a crisis in the number of people experiencing homelessness within our communities and in need right now to help protect our water resources that are so precious. In 2020, the Los Angeles River Master Plan will provide a comprehensive plan to help us address all of these issues. The plan was developed in partnership with the 41-member steering committee made up of community members involved in public health, the environment, flood risk management, and of course, social justice. Each steering committee member was selected based on their expertise and ability to optimize the plan in a way that puts the needs of our community first. The plan is a result of a multi-year effort to engage our underserved communities, and especially our youth, our young people. The master plan includes 56 large planned projects, 22 new proposed projects along the 51 miles of the river. And we know that the health of our communities is directly linked to the availability of open space, especially in our park-poor, low-income communities of color. The plan not only proposes increasing open space and improving the environment, but it also will provide opportunities for connectivity, for arts and culture. The river, in my opinion, has to be shared equitably. It must build bridges, both literally speaking and figuratively, to bring all of our communities together and our stakeholders. However, we also know that infrastructure investments come sometimes with a negative cost, negative consequences. Los Angeles County faces an unprecedented housing shortfall, and those housing pressures are greatest in low-income communities of color along some portions of the river. More than 66,000 homeless individuals are on our streets at any given moment. And that's why we need to address the issue of displacement and gentrification in parallel with building out this master plan. Today, we're only releasing the master plan for public comment, but I'm already working towards solutions to relieve housing pressures and to preserve affordable housing. Earlier this month, I authored a motion to provide $14 million to community land trusts to purchase apartment buildings throughout the county and preserve them as affordable housing in perpetuity. This action builds upon my previous efforts to purchase tax defaulted properties to be used as affordable housing. And it will also continue our work in advocating for the construction of more housing to serve the most vulnerable in our communities. The LA River Master Plan offers a number of strategies to address displacement and gentrification. And I plan on using every tool at my disposal, along with my board colleagues, to help tackle these issues head on. Thank you to Public Works and to our consultant teams, and for all that you have done to work towards this day. And most importantly, I want to thank all the residents that have been engaged with us through this process. I also want to particularly thank River LA for making our community's voices heard. And the master plan, as you know, was made up by community for community. And I could not be more proud of that and the release today. So thank you so much for all of your hard work. And I want to, at this time, now acknowledge my colleague and friend, our board member, Supervisor Sheila Kuehl, to say a few words.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. It's a pleasure to be partnering with you in bringing these motions to the board and to watch the wonderful work that's unfolded. As you know, as you all know, when we began this work several years ago, we promised this would be a significant and innovative reimagining of all 51 miles of the LA River. So by developing a master plan, we wanted to achieve a balance, as Supervisor Solis has said, between a sort of a coherent, holistic plan for the entire expanse of the river, while providing a great deal of local community control and benefit. We hoped that this plan would be a masterpiece, and so far I think we are nailing it, if I may say, or I should say you're nailing it, the people coming up with this plan. So releasing this draft plan actually asks you, have we actually kept our promise? Is the reimagining of the LA River, is this what our LA residents want to see? Since we began this process, we enlisted 2 world-class leaders in urban design and architecture that you can see on your screen and who will be talking to us, Frank Gehry and Lori Olin. We also enlisted 41 public health, environmental, engineering, social justice leaders to serve on the steering committee. We made a humongous effort to engage the 17 communities along the river from Canoga Park to Long Beach, and we heard from thousands and thousands of people. You know, we all recognize what a powerful symbol a revitalized LA River could be. It could be and should be a unifying artery that runs through the county as a testament to our commitment to public health, to open space, our commitment to sustainability, a reflection of the creative reimagining that's been a hallmark of LA for more than the last 100 years. So of course, I know you're all saying to yourself, yeah, but where's the money going to come from? Well, funding can come from a great variety of sources, and I feel confident that it will. Beginning with 4 voter-approved measures, which we're sort of playfully calling WHAM, based on their letters. Measure W, which was our water measure, H for homelessness, A, which was our parks measure, and M, which was our metro funding measure, transportation. Those measures can provide some funding for projects all along the river. In addition, I'm hoping we're going to see a future federal infrastructure bill. We've heard that after COVID, that's going to be the greatest priority for the new administration. And I know our municipalities will be applying for those grants. Finally, at the conclusion of this 60-day comment period, public input is going to be reviewed, the plan will be modified, and then it will go before the Board of Supervisors for a vote, hopefully by summer of this year. And I am confident and hopeful that my colleagues will join Supervisor Solis and me in supporting it. So thank you all for being here, and let me now hand it over to our Director of Public Works, Mark Pistrella. Over to you, Mark.
Well, thank you, Supervisor Kuehl. And let me start by thanking the entire Board of Supervisors who act as the board of the Los Angeles County Flood Control District, who I'm representing today, for making this day possible. It takes a commitment of leadership. It takes a commitment of dollars, as Supervisor said, but it really takes a vision. And I really want to first start by saying thank you to the board, and in particular to these 2 supervisors, our chair, Supervisor Solis, and Supervisor Kuehl, for their tremendous leadership with respect to the LA River. This is a regional asset, something that goes beyond each supervisor's district. In fact, each supervisor has a piece of the Los Angeles River. It's an asset that serves all of Los Angeles, not just the watershed of Los Angeles or the city of Los Angeles. And it's something that I'm very proud to say that I've had something to do with throughout my entire career. As the chief of the Los Angeles Flood Control District, I can tell you that we've been in this business for over 100 years. The district was formed in 1915. And for over 100 years, the district has been, protecting, preserving, and connecting people, places, and the environment, whether we knew it or not. But in fact, in the recent years, in the 20th century, I'd say, or 21st century, we've been thinking more about the impact that our natural resources have and these assets have on the communities of Los Angeles County. Unfortunately, for many years, the assets that were built in the early part of the 19th century and 20th assets of disparity. Almost by design, they created disparity and inequity. And this plan is a manifestation of our thinking about the impacts of infrastructure on the people of Los Angeles and the world, those that visit. And it's our opportunity, as supervisors have said, to create equity and equality and social justice through our actions and what we do and what we invest in. And so again, I'm very happy that today is the release of the LA River Master Plan update. In our update, once the plan is adopted by the board, it will serve to guide the Los Angeles County Flood Control District and the county at large in the design all along the 51 miles of the LA River, respecting all cultures, present and past. There are currently some 2,100 acres of publicly owned land available along the river, 2,100 acres. And that is primarily owned by the Los Angeles County Flood Control District. Much of this area that's owned by the Los Angeles County Flood Control District is not excess area. It's actually land owned by and serves to protect the public from flooding, to conserve water, and most importantly, in our thinking, to create recreational, both passive and active recreational opportunities for the public. This is within our mission and something we're already authorized to do. The plan seeks to optimize those benefits. With more than 130 existing planning documents in place, including the City of Los Angeles Ecosystem Restoration Project, various segments of the river have been incorporated in the plan. Updating the original 1996 master plan was a challenging task. The process was led by the county in partnership with a steering committee of community members, technical experts, and a very, very diverse group of river stakeholders. One of the things I challenged my staff as we started this planning process is that we're going to create a new bar when it comes to stakeholder outreach. in an attempt to understand all that interact with the river, all that engage from all 51 miles. It's an audacious task, and I want to congratulate my staff for the work they've done, and supervisors, your staff, and those that you assign to our steering committees for their commitment to a very, very long process that I do think, Supervisor, we've hit the mark in terms of stakeholder outreach. In fact, we had extensive community engagement with the most crucial component being that with more than 13 community meetings, 5,000 virtual town hall participants, and nearly 1 million voices have been heard. And you should see, and we hope you will see your voices in our plan that we are releasing today. We know there's a significant effort ahead to carry out the goals and actions envisioned by this plan. It's audacious, it's gigantic. It's, as Mr. Gary has told me, comparable to any park anywhere in the world that we're planning. It provides an opportunity to put Los Angeles on the face of the earth in terms of infrastructure excellence and function for humans excellence. And I think Mr. Gary will probably talk about that. We know there's a significant effort ahead, as I said, but today you've seen the political will from our county leadership, and I'm pledging my commitment as the chief engineer of the Los Angeles County Flood Control District to bring this vision about. There are more than 200 possible project sites, in fact, identified that will create local jobs and help fuel the economy while improving this asset we're talking about today. The investments are not only an engine of economic recovery for the region, they are essential to addressing the disparity within our communities, as I said, and improving the quality of life for current and future generations of Angelenos. Now, I'm very pleased to introduce two members of the county's project team that we are so happy to have on board, and thank them for their time and dedication to this. First, you will be hearing from Mr. Frank Gary and then Mr. Laurie Olin. They were essential in addressing the disparity within our communities. They have been team players all along. And what I can tell you, one of my best experience with the Gary and Associates is just how organic, Mr. Gary, it has been in working with you, and how organic it has been in your research of the river and the findings that you made early on that helped us affirm how special the Los Angeles River is. So without further ado, Mr. Frank Gary.
Hi, it's a great honor to work with you, Mark, and your team, as well as with the supervisors, Solis, Kuehl, and incoming Mitchell, and all the teams that the county brought to our aid. When I started, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. The River LA leadership at that point, Omer Brownson, said, you know, New York has the High Line and they're really making hay with it. We've got 51 miles of river. We should be able to do something with it. And I looked at him, I said, I think the High Line's a rusty bridge. It's not. And the river, I think, has something to do with flood control. Anyway, I came in with the same starry-eyed notion that you could make the river into a beautiful sylvan stream with fish and beautiful trees and landscape, and very romantic, going through and connecting 51 miles of the city. What a wonderful thing that would be. And we studied this, the statistics said that, well, the river got unruly only 2% of the time. And I thought, well, hell, 2% of the time, that's not bad. We can deal with that. Well, 2% of the time is a major 2% of the time, which we found out after our studies got into it, and it can't be ignored. And as much as we'd like to make it beautiful and fish and all of that, we have to deal with that 2% of the time. If only we could block that 2% of the time out, we could have what everybody wants, but we can't. In studying the river, we went to all the communities along the river and met with the people involved, and found such a variety of needs that from housing to open space. And so the really most needy place was just south of LA, Southgate, the community, Bell Gardens, all of those little towns, and they're suffering. And one of the mayors took me aside and said, he had his 8-year-old son with him, and he said, "Frank, my son has got a 10-year shorter lifespan because he's living in a community with no open space." That got my attention, I could tell you. And that's real. So, and these communities are separated where they need to be connected. And there are cities where people bridge the freeways to connect parks. And I thought, well, if somebody can do that, let's look at that. And with the help of Mark Hanna, who knows what happens if I put a column in the middle of the river and what it's going to do, what obstructive things happen. Under his supervision, we figured out we could put walls in at certain places and connect the community and build a platform on top of the river. Not everywhere, but especially around Southgate and the communities that need help. And so that's one of the ideas. It's not the only idea. We'd love to connect and get back to beautiful, romantic green areas. But in order to do that, you displace people. You displace people's homes and places of where they live and work and so on. So it's not easy to do that. You can do it in areas where you can buy railroad land up north of the city, but down up south of LA, it's not there. You can't do it. And then we've got the 710 freeway, which adds to pollution, and we've got to get those cars, those buses, and those trucks on electric. We got to change them so they're not spewing gas all over everybody. And we got to connect those communities across. We not only have the width of the river and the width of the freeway separating communities. I mean, that's a big chasm to get across. And we've come up with solutions in certain places where you can do that. So there's no one solution that fits all. That's in the middle of all this, I called in my friend Laurie Olin, who had retired from his practice, kind of, and I begged him to come in with me and help me. And so he's done that, and he's a great partner and has had a lot of experience with this. So I think together we're starting to see at least some places where we can make interventions and where the community involvement is possible and as helpful and as interested and supportive. In Southgate, we're looking at a cultural center, which also connects the communities to cultural activities that are major import. Arts education, things like that are missing in our schools all over the country. And they're very desperately needed in these communities where kids are excited to play in musical instruments, are excited to draw and become part of, do artwork. And there are a lot of artists who've grown up in these committees that when you start talking about doing stuff, they come out of the woodwork and start helping us. So that's what I think is exciting about it. And under the leadership, the county leadership, and your help, and Mark Hanna, and all of the people involved, I think we got a chance to do something special. And I'm very happy that we have Supervisor Solis leading us. Thank you.
Hi. Thanks, Frank, and thanks to the supervisors. I'm a landscape architect, and I believe that every American is entitled to an environment that is healthy, that is socially just, and that is aesthetically pleasing and rewarding. And ever since Frederick Law Olmsted launched the profession of landscape architecture with a series of projects to improve the lives of American city dwellers by providing fresh air and access to open space, aspects of nature, the recreation and company of their fellow citizens, he began the movement of creating the parks across our country, and landscape architects like myself and other men and women in our field have engaged in the same efforts ever since. And of all our projects, however, few today have really addressed the true scale of the problem, of the millions of people whose lives and health are compromised by their environment. And as Frank points out, it's been a great privilege to work on the LA River Master Plan, which is a unique endeavor to truly work at the scale of the problem. It's a framework for multiple projects at a variety of scales that are distributed along all 51 miles of this remarkably publicly owned corridor, with the potential to become an armature for public benefit that's unrivaled since the WPA work of the Great Depression. The plan that we've put together outlines the goals and the range of projects and a kit of parts for the communities all along the route. Best suits each one. But imagine the proposed combined effort. Over 100 miles of publicly accessed trails with both sides of the river will have trails. With a diversity of spaces that will provide for the health and recreation, for habitat, for water conservation and its treatment, for education and for safety. The plan isn't really a straitjacket or one-size-fits-all proposal, as Supervisor Solis said. It includes a variety of tools and choices, while it also provides specific guidelines for ecologically appropriate planting, for means of public access, for the connections that Frank just discussed, and for a range of proposed improvements from trails and appropriately spaced modest amenities throughout its entire length to a selection of larger improvements like he just was discussing, again, at an appropriate spacing throughout the length of the corridor, especially in those communities that we have discovered have the greatest need. There's no question that one of the most affordable methods for society to improve health and to lower the burden of disease and medical expenses to provide access to outdoor recreation space and parks, spaces that are adequate to the population and its needs. I'm really excited that the LA County supervisors, the Department of Public Works, and the other departments have embarked upon such a plan, and I really wish to thank them, and I'm proud to have been able to have worked on it for over the past several years with them all, and with my partners and associates at Olin, and the amazing Frank Gehry, there he sits, right, looking at you, and his remarkable colleagues, and with Mark Hanna, and all of his marvelous engineers at Geosyntec, and all the others that we've consulted. I really want to thank you for the chance to work on such an important project that really does matter. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So that concludes our formal presentation. We want to open up the floor to questions. This is a real press conference and we're entertaining questions. Just a reminder to use the raise hand function on your Zoom app to ask your question. And as soon as we have hands raised, we will call upon your name and unmute you. And just a quick note to our members of the media, in your invitation today where you received the Zoom link, you do have a link to the digital media kit with photos, renderings, facts and figures, FAQs, a wealth of useful information. Okay, we've got our first question from Martin Macias from Courthouse News. Martin, go right ahead. Just make sure you unmute yourself.
Hi, can you hear me? Good morning. As I haven't had a chance to look through the entire master plan draft, but as someone who bikes frequently along the trail, I'm just wondering what your outreach has been like, what your conversations have been like with cyclists, people that bike along the trail that's available for bikers. And does the plan contain any design for connecting the different sections? I know there's a gap between downtown that to get around you would require a pretty massive detour. Thanks.
Thank you, Martin. I'm going to direct that question to our chief of the Flood Control District, Director Pastrella.
Yeah, thanks, Kurjan, and thank you for your question. Yes, alternate transportation in the form of cycling has been one of the major drivers for our interest in expanding our responsibilities along the LA River and utilizing that 2,100 acres of public space. In fact, you're correct, there is a gap in the bike path right now, about an 8-mile gap, and it's actually been planned to be closed in conjunction with, as Supervisor said, Measure M money from Metro. And those plans are in the works. LA County Public Works is going to be processing the project's EIR and actually vying to construct the project and then ultimately maintain that whole 1 miles of a bikeway along the system. And yes, we've had tremendous input, as you can imagine, from advocates for cycling, including some that would like us to allow them down into the invert of the river and back out of the invert, which we've considered in the past.
We also paid some attention, I should say, to the access to the bike path from other parts, other bike paths that might run like out in the valley over near Universal, where the bike path runs along, higher than the bike path that runs along the river, and making certain that there's access for the bike. So I think Supervisor Solis and I both serve on the Metro board. There is a lot of devotion to active transportation, and we're really, really happy about that. But I wanted to add about the access issue.
Yeah, could I say something, Mark? I just want to say that obviously the portion that was raised right now, the 8 miles, I believe is entirely in the 1st District, if I'm correct. So we definitely want to work on making sure there's connectivity there. And obviously, I want to thank Frank Gehry, especially because he's really spent a lot of time out there in the lower LA River, where we have our different city bike trails that have been established, but they really need a lot more love and funding and support. And I do believe that our primary goal here is to provide that connectivity so it's seamless. So yes, you can start all the way up from Canoga Park or Atwater or wherever it is, and then come all the way down, just as we do on the San Gabriel River, that other famous river that we represent. But I just want to say that the Metro Board, as well as the Board of Supervisors, are gung-ho about connectivity and bikes, mobility, different sources of transportation, especially that are pedestrian friendly, and getting people outdoors, walking, biking, getting healthy. All of that helps our communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Martin, for that question. Any other questions from the floor, from our press pool? We'll take another couple of seconds to see if anyone raises their hand. Great. Stephen Sharp from Urbanize LA. Go ahead and unmute yourself and bring us your question.
Hi, thank you. You guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure. I recognize it was pretty conceptual, but I was just curious about the conceptual platform park at the confluence of the Rio Hondo and the LA River. I know that the city of Southgate was looking at it at kind of an urban orchard. I think they were calling it, right in the same area. And I just wonder if any consideration was being given to that and how it would interact with a platform park at that location.
Director Pastrella, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, I can start us off. So I first want to acknowledge the Lower Los Angeles River Master Plan that occurred prior to our update had identified the opportunities in the Lower Los Angeles River, including the platform that you're referencing. And as referenced, Mr. Gary was really the brains behind that concept. And so I'll let him give sort of what he was thinking there was. But programmatically, yes, there are a number of ideas about what we might do and fill in those spaces with. Some of them are more advanced than others. But one thing that I think is interesting to the public is the flood control district right away that's in that area is maintained and operated by it. We're working actively to support the development of these projects along the Southgate area. And that is a really positive thing, and that we have that land in public hands that allows for these kind of opportunities to maximize the benefit to the public. And so, yes, Southgate, City of Southgate and others around that area, Supervisor Solis, Supervisor Ridley Thomas at the time, and now Supervisor Mitchell, are all very supportive of this concept that you're describing in that area. And I'll let Mr. Gary kind of talk about what the concept development and the concept itself.
So is Lori Olin, is Jessica there? She's been intimately involved with this.
She is, and the truth is that we're not stepping on that in any way. That the Urban Orchard is actually one of the places we were thinking should not only remain and be enhanced, but it should be one of the entry points to some of the works that we're proposing. So does that answer your question? I hope.
Yes, that's all correct, Lori and Frank. The Urban Orchard would stay programmatically as designed.
I knew that. I just wanted to make sure that the detail of it.
Yeah.
I do want to add something, if I might, Mark and Frank, and that is that while serving on the Metro Board, I introduced a motion to look at developing a confluence station, a metro station right there. So we're hopeful that we can get something started there to really get more people exposed to that area through the West Santa Ana branch line that eventually would go downtown, but take people all the way out through the Southeast communities, and in particular, a station right there at the confluence. So we have support from the Assembly Speaker, Rendon. There's been monies put aside, and we're looking at developing that, and we're working with Metro staff right now. So I think it's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, that's an important piece of it, I think. Very.
Yeah, I think one thing just to pick up on that is, Supervisor Kuehl mentioned, is now Supervisor Solis is saying, is that access to the river
No, he's got cut off.
Director, I think we lost your sound.
Oh, we're trying to read your lips.
So Stephen, did we get your question there?
Yeah, very good. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much. Any other questions from our members of the media? Looks like we have some more interest. We'll have a name in just a moment. Martin is coming back to us again from Courthouse News. Martin Macias, go right ahead.
Hey, it's my lucky day. I get to ask 2 questions. I know that there's also some kayaking opportunities. I've done some kayaking in the upper portion of the LA River. Does the plan involve any expansion of opportunities for recreational kayaking or recreation directly on the waterway itself? And the ones that exist, are those going to be expanded or removed, or any changes, things like that? Thank you.
That's a good question, and I'd want to go to our director. I think we've lost his mic there. Oh, there he is. Okay, great.
The day and age of Zoom meetings. So anyway, just to finish the thought on access to the river, it's a major investment that the county's been making for some time. The master plan encourages that and considers it as well. I'm working with major transportation agencies in the county, along at both the regional and the neighborhood level, to see how we can better even routing transit to the river system, and then making access points that were brought up by both supervisors as a priority. And what we have found, I just want to pass this on, is we've done these corridor plans and developed along. We've done some very similar ones in the LA County at a very smaller scale, even with potentially opposition to the plan being developed by neighborhood levels. Within a year of building out the projects, we have found over and over again the communities wanting those access points put in. In fact, people turning their view towards the river and even wanting gates from their own residents to access these amenities. So we expected already and project the demand for access to be very large on the river system, and have been looking and identifying locations for that access, including major transit and light rail, as Supervisor Solis mentioned. So I'm back. And
Mark, we had a question about kayaking in the upper
Yes,
part of
yeah.
the river. You know,
Yep.
access, what it would be like, whether we would maintain what we have, expand it, et
Okay.
cetera.
Yeah, it's exciting, the possibilities of active recreation. Those of you that have been in Los Angeles for some time know that we've been permitting access and kayaking along the upper river some time now, in conjunction with the Army Corps of Engineers in the soft bottom section of the river and the upper river. One of the things, one of my roles as the district engineer is to make sure that's safe if we do that. We have found that it can be safely done with the right investments and safety provisions put in place, and that there isn't any reason that we wouldn't conduct such activities further in the river system, you know, with the right provisions placed for safety for the public. I always have to say, you know, water 6 inches deep running can, you know, move a Volkswagen. So we always want people to be safe about that access. So this is what we've been opening ourselves up to, that less than 2% of the time, that other 98% of the time that Mr. Gary gave, that the river is actually running dry. There's just a ribbon of water running through it. And there is potential for active recreation though in that area. We've even recently been showing movies in the river bottom and having carnivals in the river bottom. So we're excited about the possibilities of the amendment and changing what is basically an encased concrete civil engineering structure into this, you know, public amenity that can be utilized for multi-benefits.
Great, thank you, Director. I want to thank all of our panelists for their time, and thank our members of media and our audience on YouTube for joining us today for this really exciting announcement. There is more information to be found on the master plan at the River Master Plan website. It's larivermasterplan.org. That's larivermasterplan.org. And again, there is a digital media kit available to the press. You can email losangelesrmp@gmail.com. That's losangelesrmp@gmail.com. And a member of our team will be happy to send a link to you. Again, thank you so much for joining us for this fantastic announcement. Everyone have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you all.